that Bisons team has been hitting like crazy the last little while, has them on the periphery of the playoff picture in the International League, and they've been able to graduate a couple of guys to the Blue Jays who've been able to contribute at the plate. What is going into that success? How are the Blue Jays producing some pretty major league ready bats, at least in small samples? Matt Hague, Buffalo Bisons hitting coach and Blue Jays swing consultant, joins us now to help us figure it out. Matt, I got to ask you first, man, can you fix my swing?
Blake, I got to start us off by saying thanks for having me on here. And I got to give you a couple shout outs, man. I listen to your guys' podcast a lot. I enjoy y'all's perspective. So as far as the swing, I have no idea. You got to send me some videos. We got to check that out. But no, I appreciate you having me on here and send me some videos. We'll check it out. Have a little bad luck.
All right. There will be an NDA, though, that you can't show the videos because I host a baseball show and no one needs to see that slow pitch swing. So, Matt Hague, you are the Bisons hitting coach. But for anyone who doesn't know, you also were in the Blue Jays organization at one point. I do want to talk about some of these AAA guys and some of the success stories there. But I wanted to give the audience a little bit of your background as well. If anyone remembers the 2015 season, kind of a memorable season around here. You were up with the team that September. What do you remember about your time with the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I remember just good people. I mean, I had, I think I consider myself really lucky that season because I think I had the one of the easiest jobs in baseball, sitting back watching all those guys go about their craft. You know, all the big names that were on that team. It was an amazing group of guys, highly competitive, really tough at bats. And I spent a lot of my time just kind of picking a lot of their brains and how they go about it. Those guys are extremely gifted. And I also have to ask this question. I heard kind of the introduction song as this thing was warming up was Leonard Skinner's Simple Man. And that was actually my plate song in 2015 when I walked up. So was that by design or is that just kind of coincidence right there?
That was by design, man. I got my little iPad out too and doing the prep work and the advanced scout and everything like that. So I'm glad you noticed it. So also that 2015 year, curious about, I'm sure it was great for, learning and absorbing, like you said, from those top players. I also wonder what it was like and how this can, especially now that you're at the AAA level, help you with certain player types that are down there. You were coming off an MVP season at the AAA level. You had a pretty good track record of succeeding at the high levels of the minors, but you hadn't really gotten a major league chance with any consistency, and you were kind of in this pinch hitter specialist role. What do you remember about that role, and does that come up and, the way you had to prepare and stay ready in that role inform some of how you're helping guys stay ready now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think I was in that role, rightfully so. These guys that were ahead of me are extremely athletic. And if I'm being honest and self-reflecting through that role that I had, those guys were just ahead of me. So I had to prepare myself mentally for whenever my name was called, what was going on game planning wise. And I think, pinch hitting, as you all know, it's a different beast. You're facing the guys in the back end that have 2+ pitches usually that are highly executed, and they're going to throw it. But it's just trying to eliminate certain pitch profiles on what you really know that you can't hit. And I think that was one thing when I was with the Blue Jays. They helped you prepare for those roles. And then it's just this constant process of learning, given the role that you're in. But those guys, you picked up a lot of stuff that they were doing and made them successful, whether you could do it or not. You played with it. But it's just highly athletic guys that knew what they were doing. And I think that was my time with the Blue Jays. That was one of the things I really gravitated towards, how they prepare and then how they execute based on what they're facing that day.
So you also, whether in the Jays system or around baseball, before you got to Toronto, after you were back from your stint in Japan as well, always had pretty high walk rates and fairly low strikeout rates. And that's something that, swing decisions is a buzzy term now, but you can look at strikeouts and walks and kind of approximate that. Is that like, how much of that is innate and how much of that is something you were constantly actively working on when you're in the minors? Because I'd imagine it's something that, once you're a 30-year-old and you've been in AAA a little bit, it's maybe a little easier, but you had that from a pretty young age in your minor league profile.
Yeah, it was something that I always valued when I was younger. And then I think like just the whole bucket of, for me personally and my individual skill set, I knew that I wasn't crazy athletic moving like most of the guys that are up there now. And it's under the idea of you kind of got to eliminate certain zones, certain pitches, and you can't cover everything. So you're trying to eliminate stuff so you can take advantage of when it shows up in your tunnel. And I was strong enough and I was physical enough to where I could muscle some balls out. But my bread and butter was trying to get on base. It was just kind of, I think it's the environment that I was brought up in, especially even just from a very young age. And with each system and each organization, they kind of hone down on different value systems. And it's kind of like a blessing and curse, right? You're trying to eliminate certain stuff. At the same time, it can turn into some passiveness or maybe lack of intent, which could translate into some extra base hit opportunities. But you're always trying to like risk or you're trying to assess risk and, value in certain situations. So I think like that was kind of my mindset. I think just the guys nowadays, and you've kind of seen this like last 4 or 5 years, a different trend, and guys can kind of do it all now if brought up in the right movements or the right game planning environments. These guys are athletic, highly specialized now. So it's kind of at that era that I guess I've played in. It wasn't that long ago, but it's changed dramatically on guys just specializing and be able to physically be capable of doing it all. So.
And now you're a part of building that into Blue Jays guys. So 2020, you joined the organization at the A-ball level, or you're supposed to, and then the pandemic happens, and then you're in AA after not too long, and now you're at AAA. How cool has it been for you to, first of all, kind of find yourself on the coaching side, but also because you've moved through the organization fairly quickly, you've kind of gone with a couple of these guys level by level.
Right. Yeah. It's been an awesome opportunity. It's after you play, you kind of don't know what's going to happen. Some guys reach out to you and you start this process of learning, and I think one of the biggest things that I challenge myself with is these players are going to latch on to different things, and it's not necessarily what you did in your career. You want to be open-minded enough to where you can kind of meet the player where they're at and cater to them at whatever style or whatever, whether we're talking about biomechanics or game planning or swing stuff or approach-wise. There's always different areas as a coach you try and push yourself on, right? And it's this process of continually trying to grow. And when you kind of move up with some of the players for a couple of years, you can really specialize. You can kind of check some things off and move on and continue to develop these guys. And I've had the opportunity to spend some time with a lot of these guys that are up in the upper levels now. And it's been a fun process working through with them. The development system that we have is extremely good, and we're getting better each year, and we're specializing each year. So I think like overall, as a coach, you learn a lot about yourself, but you get to learn with the players and meet them with where they're at and continue to help them grow. And you're using your experiences, but you're also understanding that they could be in a different mind frame. They could view things differently. And it's just this process to keep growing together, not even just coach or individual base. Everyone's trying to grow together and truly develop, really.
So you guys have had a couple of success stories this year, and hopefully that ends with a playoff berth for you guys. I know you're in a tight race here, and the offensive side is clicking. Obviously, developmentally, you're going to be measured at the end of the day by the impact those guys have on the major league team, and you guys have quote unquote lost a trio of players to the Blue Jays over the last little bit. When you see Ernie Clement, Davis Schneider, Spencer Horwitz go up to the major league level, obviously you're rooting for them and you deal with that. What is the process like in terms of you keeping an eye on those guys and your continued communication with those guys? Obviously there are hitting coaches and strategists at the major league level, but I'd imagine you at this point are probably the person in the organization most familiar with their approach and their swings and things like that.
Yeah. And those are my guys. Like we've especially with Horwitz and Schneider, we've really grown to trust each other and really value each other. And Ernie, it's his first year in an organization, but there were some things that I don't know if you got a chance to talk to them, but they're all extremely good people. They're good hearts. They care about people. And it's a kind of a coach's responsibility, I would say, to help them grow, but understand when, why, at what times. And yes, we are always rooting for them, but there's also really good communication between the AAA level and big league level. So I think, yes, I'm familiar with them, but that information is passed along. We got a group of really good coaches, and whenever these guys get called up, we write out some stuff that has worked for them in the past. And I mean, for like the transition from the AAA to big leagues, like even when they go up there, the players are usually fighting or battle the same tendencies. They're not like making up new deficiencies as they move up. It's usually around the same thing. So I think just the communication, as long as it's tight, and they're prepared and they're continuing to do the things that had them have success at those levels, it's a pretty cool story to watch those guys go up there and do what they're doing now. And they're extremely easy to root for. And it's one of those scenarios where those three guys, they were a big part of our Bisons team. And when the game's on and we're not playing, everyone in the team is watching the games and rooting them on. So it's a very close knit, those three guys together as well, but just as a team and experience they had with everybody. So it's been an amazing experience watching those guys go up there and do what they're doing.
So with respect to Spencer Horwitz and Davis Schneider, guys you've spent a lot of time with, Horwitz has kind of been this guy. He's been established as a good plate approach guy, a good contact hitter, a guy who could take a walk. Davis Schneider, took a little bit longer to kind of find his bat in the minors, it sounds like and feels like. What do you attribute their ability to come up to the majors and have, major league quality approach at the plate too? That's, we've heard from scouts at times and people within organizations on this show that the jump has never been larger from AAA to the major leagues. And you've got a pair of guys here who in Schneider and Horwitz had this really good approach, had this good plan of attack, and they have been able to translate it to the majors so far. What do you attribute that to?
Oh man. Okay. I think we can go a lot. We can go a lot of different ways with this. So I think generally speaking, it's the way they move the barrel, and at what rate. So I would say, even when both those guys got to AA, they have a launch. So the way they move the barrel, they over time with some refinement, they can eventually learn to cover any fastball profile with how they move it. So I would say it's the way they launch and then how they move. I think like some people, when they see Schneider and Horwitz, they think simple swing. In my eyes, I view it as it's not necessarily simple, but it's extremely stable and controlled. And then they possess a launch to where they can cover really any fastball type of profile and then rely on certain movements to buy time or extend their move to help adjust with different pitches off the fastball. So I think it's like there's, as a coach, you identify, when I was with these guys in AA, say, okay, they have the launch. Over time, typically you see doesn't fail, even when it's pushed against its limits and really good pitching. And then over time, you're trying to identify what they do really well against what. And then it's this gradual process of checking boxes, right? So when Hunter's my dog up there, and the assistant coach. I think like in Double-A, when you're with these guys, you identify the fastball profiles. And then with Spencer, when he was there, it was velo and cutters in. And over time, these guys get ingrained through environmental practices and dialogue that comes with it. And over time, they kind of can check all the boxes on it. And Schneider was fastballs up. That was the main focus. And just gearing their work to where they can cover everything based on the launch that they have. And Schneider, I don't think it's a secret. I think everybody in the league knows. Everybody has the same information. Different guys have different attack plans, and Schneider's had a ongoing process of covering true carry fastballs up, and it's just how they work, and they want to get better. So I think over time, as a coach, and sorry for this is the long answer to the question, but they continue to work on it. They know what they need to work on, and they continue to improve. And there's still always going to be a hole, and everybody always has holes, but it's can they cover it, and are they prepared? So, yeah, it's a long answer to that. Sorry.
Man, please never apologize for a long and detailed answer on this show. If you come on in the future again, it's great information. And I know, like, look, on this show, we try to be, more analytic minded and look at some of that stuff. But there's some stuff that, we can't put ourselves in 2-3 years of spending time with these guys and evaluating the launch and the swing and stuff like that. It's really helpful information to hear. Curious now, Matt, so those are guys you've worked with for a while. Ernie Clement comes into the organization kind of at the last minute this year. And, he is not a guy, and I don't mean this in any offense to him, it's just the way the numbers have gone, really hadn't hit at any level of the minors. There was a moment in high A ball back when he was first a prospect, but otherwise he'd been a glove first guy. And I talked to him a couple weeks ago when he was still down with you guys about what's kind of went into him unlocking some stuff offensively. And he said it was a lot of, mentality side stuff for him. Were there things with Ernie that when he got to you guys, you'd identified or you guys had identified as, hey, we think we can do this a little better with you or this a little different with you? Like, I guess what I'm trying to get at with this is Ernie has attributed it mostly to the mental side and plan of attack and things like that. Would you agree with that assessment? Were there also swing things that you guys were able to do to unlock some more bat to ball stuff with Ernie?
Yeah. So I think it boils down to the person too, right? Ernie is an amazing guy. He is always loved. And with that comes the chance and opportunity to dissect, hey, like in the past, this is what's been going on with you. Two seams, you beat everything in ground. Here's the numbers. So providing like reasoning with it. He's always been able to cover like fastballs, true carry fastballs up. And being able to like refine his sights, he kind of reminds me of, it's kind of the same idea as when I was with Gabriel Moreno in Double-A, right? He can make contact with the best of them, like elite. And it's being able to help him understand when it gets exaggerated. So with the high contact is usually like a blessing and curse. We'll try and make contact with everything. So I think like to what he's speaking of, yes, a lot of it is game planning. And because the contact's so elite, being able to help him and provide information on being able to, when it gets exaggerated, to where the contact becomes less quality. So helping him with like the game planning side, and I 100% agree with him, but also understanding, hey, what are some of the swing tendencies that break down? Like I said before, two seams you beat in the ground. What's the two seam down in the zone? What's it taken away from your swing? So for him, it usually takes away his depth of his path. So just basically cutting it out front. So understanding that when this profile comes up, hey, dude, this profile in the past has he beaten everything on the ground. Let's understand. Let's maybe try and think a little differently, and then push that box with him. And because he is such a good guy, and I think it all comes down to the will of the player. He wanted to be very good. So a combination of game planning, depth in his path, and being able to control certain positions for a touch longer, nothing crazy. And he's just a dude that always wants to get better. And I think it's kind of the same characteristic trait with all three of those guys. Those guys want to be really good, and they do want to impact people, and they care about others. So it's an easy conversation to have as long as there's reasoning and true objective numbers and information provided on how it's going to help them benefit and get to where they want to be. So I think like bringing it all in, meeting the player where they're at and what they kind of do. And it's been fun to watch him work throughout the whole year. And he's a guy that's extremely self-aware too. If he feels something off, he's like, "Hey, what you got for me today, man?" And then we have a conversation, and it's easy flowing. It's good dialogue, and we know we're there to ultimately help him in his career. And I think they trust me with that too. So it was a really good, fun conversations with all those guys, including me.
It's really interesting to hear, and I think it's super well said in terms of, hey, the mechanical stuff, the swing evaluation stuff, the data, where does all that kind of come together? And it's that communication level with the player where you can help them, but they know they can help themselves, and there's buy-in there as well. Matt, I could keep you all day. I know I gotta let you go here shortly. I have to ask though, the swing consultant part of your job title on the Jays front office page. Yeah. What goes into that? Did you guys sit there and you were like, "Hey, I'm the hitting coach, but also I'm helping other parts of the org. What could we call this?" I'm not sure I'd seen someone listed as a swing consultant before.
Okay, there's this. I've had this question asked a lot. So okay. I would think about it along the lines of there's so much information out there. I mean, we got the Blue Jays have dumped a massive amount of money in being able to understand everything biomechanically, swing path wise. So I would think about it in terms of collecting and being relative to the information and trying to dissect it for the player to understand and meet them where they are. I enjoy all the nerding out of the technology side of things and trying to understand it, but there can at times be a gap on why it's relative to the player. And I think understanding all of the numbers, all the information, and then providing an action plan towards it and helping refine it on what we view. Why do we view it? Why is it important? When are they going to use it? Like that type of thing. And then a lot of it's programming off of the stuff that we use and making sure that the players are provided information to maybe if we do need to make a change, they understand why, and being able to kind of continually push them in ways and understanding that we're never done growing. And everything that we got is with all the resources that we have and the Blue Jays development, in a way, trying to shoot bullet holes in a lot of the ways we think about it. Just trying to proofread and try and really understand everything that we're going to use because there's so much out there and trying to refine it. So I would think about it in regards of like that way a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Matt, like I said, I could keep you all day, but I got to let you go here. I'm past my allotted time with you. Thanks so much for taking the time out, man. Really looking forward to this playoff race for you guys down in Buffalo.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. Good having me on here, and I enjoyed it.